Welcome to Oddball. Izzy Gutierrez in Miami. Amin Elhassan straight from Oklahoma City. And Izzy, we have ourselves an NBA Finals, man.
Wow.
As Tyrese Haliburton and the Indiana Pacers pull off the shocker. They win game one, 111 to 110. Izzy, the only way I can describe how good that game was it put me in a good mood. And that's the first time in a very long time that I can say watching a game made me viscerally happy.
Really?
That's not saying I'm not rooting for either team. I don't care who wins the finals. I'm not saying that NBA basketball generally makes me miserable or anything like that. I think I'm okay most nights. I watch games, finals games, playoff games. I say, oh, that was a good game, or okay, that one was a little boring, whatever. But it's like my mood level is pretty much the same, you know?
Yeah.
And that one last night, like legit, I was giddy. It
reminds me of like Steph Curry's double bang game, which was just a regular season game where I'm just like, man, that's got me floating a little bit for the rest of the day.
That's a great comp. That is one of those games like that. That game also made me just happy for the NBA. And by the way, I think it's a sentiment that was shared by a lot of people last night. The media, the league officials, like people were just excited that, man, we got a great game one of basketball, regardless of who won.
Regardless of who's in it, right? Because that was the whole conversation. Oh, Thunder Pacers, who's going to watch that? But being there, like boots on the ground, I mean, there weren't very happy fans in there. What was the crowd like throughout and then toward the end?
Izzy, they led for almost 47 minutes of the game. Like they were dominant. So yeah, people were happy for most of the night in the arena until, disaster struck. And, look, Oklahoma City is very loud. It's one of the loudest arenas I've ever been in. Now, is it louder than Oracle 2015, 2016, 2017? I don't think so.
Yeah. I don't have it as loud as peak Boston.
Oh, when you mean peak Boston, like 2008, like Paul Pierce Boston? Okay. Yeah. I never saw those playoff games in person, so you would know better than I. But it's definitely louder than 2022, 2024 Boston. It's not as loud as Cleveland, like I said, 2016. And but it's plenty loud for sure. But the thing that got me was the coordination.
Oh,
like,
man.
I've never seen a crowd that much on the same page throughout the night. When they chant, they all knew the chants, and the chants weren't on the Jumbotron or anything. They just knew this is the part where we just chant OKC, OKC.
Was there like a program or something? Did they just know?
Nothing.
There was like European soccer fans here.
It was like European soccer fans. Exactly. Right. And they're all wearing the shirt. Everyone was wearing the shirt proudly. Right. And then the weirdest part was they sing, there's a timeout in the second half, I believe it was in the fourth quarter, where they sing Titanium by Sia. and they tell me they do that every game. And I was like, and everybody knew every word. They sang it to a T. It was incredible. Like, so many people on the media road just pulled out their phones because like, no one's going to believe me when I say this. They know every word. And then when it hits and the hook builds, it gets to the hook, and that doom, 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 doom. They just start chanting OKC, OKC. And then they get to the second verse and they sing that part too.
They know the second verse?
They know the second verse.
That's crazy. It's impressive. It's a little weird. Like, I know the University of Florida crowd, I don't know if they still do this, but the Rowdy Reptiles, they sang, I think it was like a Summertime Sadness song. And they had like everybody in the crowd going, and it was kind of like an event. And so I get that. And the Florida football, I think they said the Don't Back Down, right? The Tom Petty song. This, I think, is kind of cool. The other stuff, I'm not here for it, but you go arm in arm with somebody and start singing. I'm down for that.
Hey man, like it's a cult, but man, it seems like a pretty cool cult.
They were pretty unhappy at the end last night, and I want you to sort of take me through that, right? So we've got, the Thunder up 8, right? With what, 3:07 left, 3 minutes and 7 seconds left. And it's not like, we talked about this before. It's not like it was just one big run. It was chip away, where you think, all right, maybe there's a chance here. But then the Pacers get the ball, and there's been a couple of timeouts here, but it's more fluid activity than usual in these late game moments, not a whole bunch of stoppages. And Tyrese grabs the ball, maybe 11 seconds left, and starts dribbling take me through what the crowd was like, because at that point you pulled out your phone and said, this could be a big moment, but it didn't feel like you thought everybody else noticed it.
The crowd was they felt confident all night long. Like there was no part, even as the league dwindled, where they were like, oh my God, this is happening. This movie is happening to us. It never really occurred to them. And to be honest with you, it really wasn't, I kind of was like, oh, the Pacers are hanging around. But there was no part of me like, Indiana's going to win this game. Especially after the reviewed call on the baseline where out of bounds off of Siakam.
Yeah, marginal contact.
I was like, well, there you go. That's it, man. That's ball game right there. The Pacers really needed that. But then they got the stop. And as you mentioned, they don't call timeout. And as Haliburton's bringing the ball up the floor, I'm like, oh my God, this is about to happen. And so I pull out my phone and I start recording. And, kudos to Cason Wallace. He played amazing defense. The scouting report was Haliburton wants to get to his left, sit on his left hand. And so you see Haliburton, hesitation dribble, and Wallace isn't biting on it. And then he kind of Haliburton never dribbles up to a spot and raises up, let alone a long two. He usually is trying to get to a step back to the three, but he raises up in that spot.
Even the Knicks winner, he was going backward, which kind of felt like a step back.
Going backwards after he had gone left, back to his right? This one, he's going right the whole way, could not get to his left, so he goes right the whole way, pulls up, and then you could see his body language. He releases it, and he goes, ooh.
Uh-huh.
And then it goes,
felt short, little flat.
Yeah, he was not confident in that shot. Like I watched all of his game winners in this postseason. He's never had that body language. So Cason Wallace did exactly what the scouting report told him to do. Dude just hit a tough shot. And the crazy thing about it, Izzy, is he played a subpar game by his standards. What Haliburton did was not a good game by his standards. He had 5 assists and 3 turnovers. 6. He didn't shoot the ball. 6 assists and 3 turnovers. He didn't shoot the ball well. He had been struggling. Lou Dort had him locked up. He was in the Dorture Chamber. But he hits that shot, and it's like the scene at the end of Dumb and Dumber where Harry tells Lloyd, you have to, just when I thought you couldn't do anything worse, you'd have to go ahead and do this and totally redeem yourself. Yeah. It was incredible.
It's interesting where Haliburton, I know he is the leader, right? He is the point guard, but he still sort of flows with what the team is doing, right? If nobody was cooking, he's not going to be going off because he's not sort of the solo act, right? He's got to have things going. And I thought there were 3 shots that frankly gave that whole team confidence. It was the Nembhard corner 3, which felt like a very much like Klay Thompson catch shoot bang. Nesmith corner 3. And then there was the Miles Turner bank shot, which from your angle at the place, you said you couldn't even tell it was a bank shot. You had to learn that afterward.
Yes.
And then there was the Nembhard just going full Allen Iverson, and stepping back for that 3. If you trade any 3 of those 3s for the Haliburton shot, it's mind-blowing game winner, like, holy cow. But yet it was just enough to keep him going. And then Haliburton's like, hey, this is my time. I know what to do. I don't even need a timeout. Like, I'm in the finals. I'm not going to panic. And just calmly took that shot. Even though he didn't feel like it was that good of a shot, it still went in. It is one of the ballsiest plays I've ever seen.
Shout out to Rick Carlisle for not calling a timeout, by the way. Like this, you want to talk about growth. Rick Carlisle 15 years ago, it would have ran out into the middle of the floor, right, to call that timeout. Exactly. But like, again, more unsung heroes. Pascal Siakam, huge offensive rebounds, right? Including one where SGA was caught snapping and he cut in and grabbed the offensive rebound. Shout out to Obi Toppin, who, when this game wasn't looking good for the Pacers, he managed to just keep hitting these timely threes that kept it from going to ballooning up to 20. Just kept it in range, right? And then Ben Shepherd also came in, and I thought gave him good minutes early on in that game. But
the thing about Pascal Siakam, too, real quick, it felt like early on they weren't able to get him the ball when he had his mismatches or where they normally did with the Knicks. And that's where I was saying to myself, well, it was a lot easier against that defense. Yeah. But once they found it, it's like they were like, okay, we might need to work a little harder to get what we want on offense, especially in the half court, but we'll get there. And in that second half, it felt like they were confident that they could do that, not just in that game, but figuring out that they could do that for the rest of the series. So I figure like going forward here, Pascal's probably going to give you at least 20 a game.
Yeah. But you know, what's funny is for the rest of history, no one's going to remember any of that.
Right.
They're just going to remember the Haliburton shot, and he is so good at playing the villain character. He shows up to the post-game presser with sunglasses on and puts his new signature shoe on the table. You can't get better product placement than that, Izzy.
It's a good shoe too. Like from what I've read, he's got good like fashion sense, so it's been easy to work with. And it's
easy,
a good shoe.
Easy on the good fashion sense. He's dressed like Inspector Gadget one time. I'm not gonna.
It takes chances, but I think they're decent chances. Speaking of taking chances, Mark Daigneault did that sort of. Mm-hmm. He went with Cason Wallace in the starting lineup instead of our Isaiah Hartenstein. Hartenstein in his 17 minutes, which are a little low for him, not too low, gave you 9 and 9, pretty efficient. Mm-hmm. Chet Holmgren, not as great, 24 minutes, not as productive, 9 shots.
Not great at all.
The lineup change wasn't really the reason for anything wrong happening for the Thunder, was it?
No, I mean, and Daigneault addressed it in the post-game press conference. He said, look, we've switched up lineups a bunch. Cason has started 40 games for us. And then he said, if you look at how the first half started and the second half started, aka the starting lineups, we outplayed them. This thing, it worked pretty well. We made a strategic decision that like size was not as important as perimeter flexibility and optionality on defense. And it worked tremendously for them. The bigger question is, why weren't you able to convert on all those turnovers you were forcing?
Yeah, and I don't think having Hartenstein in there is going to be like the point center to be converting all those turnovers. So I don't think that makes a huge difference. But here's my question on this. Mm-hmm. Does Daigneault do it again? Because if he does it again, it's just confidence. Hey, that wasn't the reason we lost. If he doesn't do it, if he goes back to Hartenstein, then you wonder if he's got some question marks about his team.
I think he sticks with it because, again, it worked. It worked for the vast majority of the night. Now, does Hartenstein get more burn, right? In light of those offensive rebounds from Siakam, from Mathurin, from Miles Turner? Do we see more Hartenstein in there to get stuff going? But again, like, if your problem was we did not play a good offensive game, and they didn't, everyone made a big deal about them shooting, having 19 turnovers forced in the first half. They shot under 40% in that first half. If your thing is offense, I don't know if turning to Hartenstein is the answer. I think the answer is we go small and we get a better offensive output from Chet, from J-Dub, and from SGA.
It feels like what you're saying is the Pacers play defense too, right? Like, yes. They were pretty good.
Yes, they were. They were
defensively.
Excellent all night long.
There's this one stat from Zach Cram. He said, mind-boggling game one stat. The Thunder threw just 208 passes, the fewest for any team in any game all season. Adjusted for pace, it's the second fewest in a playoff game in the tracking era. That's since 13-14, so not that long. Emphasizes just how much how much Indiana shut off OKC's offensive flow last night. And early on, I remember thinking, man, SGA's taking a lot of shots, but he's being ultra aggressive, but not too efficient. And that seemed to be that, the Pacers defensive plan is not give up those open looks, not overhelp.
Yeah. And shout out to Caitlin Cooper, who does an incredible job covering the Pacers. We've had her on Basketball Illuminati. She pointed out, she gave us the game plan beforehand. She said, look, they're going to let SGA basically beat them, and they're going to make sure nobody else is getting anything going. And they forced him into an ISO heavy player.
Well, I see is what that Tyrese Haliburton play was. Little preview, little spoiler alert, might be the Iciest play of the week. We got that next. Welcome back to Oddball. It's time for the Iciest play of the week, brought to you by Jägermeister. Serve it cold or don't serve it at all. Jägermeister, damn, that's cold. For more, visit Jägermeister.com. Drink responsibly. This week's Iciest play is, of course, it's Tyrese Haliburton's game winner. We didn't give it to him the last time he had it against the Knicks, so of course we've got to give it to him now. Although I would argue that the Nembhard one was ridiculous, and it'll probably be the most replayed highlight that is not the game winner. Yeah. But this is a stat from Tom Haberstroh to just prove to you how ridiculous Tyrese Haliburton has been in these playoffs. He's now 13 of 15 on shots to tie or take the lead in the final 2 minutes. What? 13 of 15 is effing ridiculous. And it's not like he's taken a bunch of easy shots either.
No, I mean, look, he's hit a game winner in each round of these playoffs. No one's ever done that for a career. He's done it in one season. He's hit the cycle. So I don't know what we're watching. He has an incredible, I was talking to Tim Legler actually yesterday, and he said he's got an incredible ability to not let the moment like throw off his mechanics at all. Like guys get jitters and you get tight or you try to overcompensate. You do all these things because of the excitement of the moment. And he has an incredible ability to center himself in those moments and shoot his shot.
And it feels like his mechanics are the type that could go awry at any moment because it's just a weird looking shot. But no, his seems to get better under more pressure. You know,
by the way, this is completely off topic. You know what I learned recently? That Pistol Pete Maravich got his nickname Pistol because when he was a kid, he used to shoot, you know, because like little kids, he shoot from the hip in order to get the power up. And they used to say, it's like he's pulling out his pistol. And I was like, you know what? That makes it a lot less cool of a nickname. I thought it was Pistol because this guy's a hot shot, right? It's like, nope, you just shoot like you've got no strength in you. You
I think it's cool that you made your kind of weak nickname into a cool nickname as a result. Like that's the trick right there. Amin, I don't know if you've been watching this discussion about the NBA Finals floor. Like I feel like I heard it some last year when I was on Twitter. But I've seen it a lot more, even though I'm not on Twitter, so I know it's a discussion. I've never actually cared about what's on the floor. I do think that watching the finals and having the finals trophy on the floor does allow you the distinction of, oh, this must be the finals. This is a big series. But if you're watching the finals, you already know it's the finals. I don't give a what's on the floor.
So I'll give it to you from both angles. Angle one, the I don't give a angle, is they haven't had the finals logo on the floor since 2014. And this is just another proof of this weird internet echo chamber because nobody said and then all of a sudden in the last 2 years, people, oh my God, I can't believe it. No, you don't get to get on that bandwagon now. It's been gone for a decade. You can't now all of a sudden act like it's like a crazy thing. Now, shout out to Jay Adande, who's always been, hey, we need the final script back, right? That thing that was debuted in the 80s, that's classic. Like, we should have that. Adante's always been beating that drum. But a lot of these people are Johnny-come-latelys. Flip side, all right? Let me argue the other side. We had Nate Jones on Basketball Illuminati earlier this week. And Nate Jones, he works for Goodwin Sports Management. He's one of Damian Lillard's main guys, whatever, in terms of on the agency side. But I love Nate because he's a real like aficionado of basketball and like also how you create fandom. And he said one of the things that we've stripped away over the last couple of decades is the pageantry of making stuff feel special. Even it's little stuff. It's not that important. Like you said, who cares if it's on the floor or not? But it means something. It's what builds this nostalgia for people. It's the same thing with the finals patch being on the back. Half these guys have long hair that covers it up. Like, I want to see that trophy right here or maybe right here under the crest on the front of the jersey. And the final thing I'll say is we play NBA Cup games and they gave us those god-awful courts to let everyone know this is an NBA Cup game. We can't get something to let us, not even the final script on the floor to let us know this is a finals game. I do empathize with like this idea that we are losing some of these kind of cultural touchstones. Like, for instance, you know, people mention problems with the ABC broadcast, but it reminds me of like NBC back in the day. Izzy, we've talked about this. You sat down to an NBC game. The first thing you saw was a little like mini essay from Marv Albert.
First thing
Bob
you heard was a voice that you recognize and respect telling you a story that had some weight to it.
Yes, absolutely. And then you get the intro with the cool music and all that. But like just setting that up, setting up the stakes for everybody, right? Like with a little speech like that and kind of almost like the theater lights are coming down and there's a hush over the crowd as we know, oh, it's about to start. Like these little things I think aren't massive in terms of a lift to do,
right?
But mean the world to everybody in terms of like letting us get into that moment collectively. And so from that standpoint, I do get like kind of hey, they should have something on the floor. But this thing where people are like, where's the champion? Dog, again, it's been a decade. Relax.
I honestly, while you were talking, said, wait a second. I swear to God, I've seen Steph Curry play a finals game on.
Never.
And I look back and I didn't see it at all. Given everything that I said about me not caring what's on the floor. In fact, when I saw that post again on Instagram during the game, I then, for the first time all game, noticed what was on the floor. And there was like 3 ads.
YouTube.
Didn't even notice that there were ads, right?
Yeah.
I said everything that I said about me not wanting it. And yet, while I was watching the game last night, Anthony comes in the room and he's like, oh, this is the finals? Well, you would have known that if there was a big trophy on the floor to be able to let you know that it was the finals. So I'm in agreement with you that there's plenty of nostalgic reasons for it. To me, the only reason that my main argument for it is, why the hell not? Like everything you just said was articulated perfectly. And that's why, and in history over time, we look at it, you will just stare at the court and say, oh, there was more meaning to that game. You can tell because there's that trophy right there. And so like, I understand that. And so I would put it back on there. I don't really see why not. Like what is the cost of having the trophy on there?
It's a low lift. It's a low lift, right? That's the end all be all of it. It's a low lift to put that on there, and it seems to make people happy. So why not do it?
All right, back to the actual basketball real quick.
Yep.
In 2011, they still had the finals logo on the floor, and I wanted to compare. We've been sort of chatting about the most shocking of NBA finals results, and this one has been thrown out there to compare against the 2011 finals, which the Dallas Mavericks famously or infamously from Miami won over the Heat's Big Three. You and I are both of the opinion it feels like that this would be a greater shock, or was that this one would be a greater shock because that Dallas team did still have Dirk Nowitzki.
Yeah, it had Dirk Nowitzki a couple of years removed from being MVP of the league. It was coached by Rick Carlisle, who was a guy who had been around for years and years and was a respected X's and O's guy. And then the supporting cast, man. A lot of those guys were former superstars who were aging into role player roles. Guys like Jason Kidd and Peja Stojakovic and Sean Marion. And then you got all these other guys, again, gritty vets who had been in playoff wars throughout the league. Karam Butler was there. Deshaun Stevenson was there, right? Jason Terry. Tyson Chandler. So it was like, this was more like an Ocean's 11 heist, what the Mavericks were. It's like, these
That's
are all,
great comp.
I got all these guys. I created this crew and we're going to take down this big casino, which is the Miami Heat. The Pacers, this is David and Goliath, man. Because the other part of that thing is, yes, we remember that Heat team now as being this amazing machine. They weren't that in the first year.
Not yet.
Right? They still hadn't really figured out a lot of things. And really that loss is what kind of helped them crystallize how they needed to be and how they were for the next couple of years. No, this Thunder team has like the highest point differential in NBA history. They won 68 games. They lost, I think the second least amount of games by 10 points or less in NBA history. This is a machine. They operate at such an insane level. And so for that Pacer team to take down this Oklahoma City team, if that's what happens at the end of the series, to me, that's a bigger upset than anything other than Pistons over Lakers and Cavs over Warriors.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And let's just go ahead and let this series play out first. Because if any game is an anomaly in a series, I've said this a few times, it's going to be game one. So we got the drama and everything we wanted. But you and I both had Thunder in 5, and that is still a possibility.
Yeah, it's still very much a possibility. Remember what happened in 2001?
Wait, 2001, is that the Lakers and the 76ers?
Who won
Lost
game one?
Game one, and then that was a great. That was
big underdog. Was
that the 4-4-5, right? 4-4-4-5 from the Lakers, almost went 16?
Well, it was. Did they have a 4-game series? And I think that might have been still best of 5. So it would have been 3-4-4-5. But yeah.
Counting with Oddball. We'll talk to you next time.